always amazes me. Like I remember for a while I was bringing home USB drives, and one day I brought another one home and I was like, isn't this one really interesting? She's like, yeah, you can put it over there. I'm like, don't you use those? And she's like, no, I use Dropbox now.
Yes.
Like, oh, this is going here very quickly.
It's a really change.
The latest one she uses, and we didn't show this upstairs, is we have an app where you can actually control the scanner on the printer. So you can put paper in the printer, and from your mobile device, either Android or iPhone, and hit scan, and it will scan it in. It shows up right on your phone. And in fact, I've got it on my iPhone here. She uses this all the time. She gets stuff from school, and she puts it into her Dropbox that way.
Oh.
So see these new use cases.
Yes. I think it's with the mix of cloud and mobility, and this also new usability from the security point of view. Also, for different kind of jobs, we will see different ways to do the jobs. They change. I can sign a contract with you here, but they will be printing in another office, and they sign there, and probably they come back here, and we sign. So
think about I bought several houses over time, not at one time. So, and I've been traveling during some of it, and you have to be able to have the ability to sign it, scan it, bring it into the cloud, have it printed somewhere else, have someone else sign it, scan it, print it, bring it into the cloud, and keep going. And it's the combination of both mobility and cloud that enables that.
But this combination improves business. You can probably do some business that, for example, in Argentina, I probably do business that in the other way I can't do. So it's allowed new kind of business.
Exactly.
Also.
And what's interesting is, and I didn't talk about it as much earlier today, we spend a lot of time thinking about use cases in our customers' workflows. And what we see is that already you see workflows that are hybrids of both paper and digital. And what they'll tell us is, listen, it's got a lot of friction in it. We've got to make it easy, it's seamless. So we're really looking at those workflows and looking at those use cases and saying, okay, what's the pain point at every aspect? And then how do we design our products and solutions to go against that? And it's to your point, we need to think about it from the customer's point of view, but it'll open up new things. Just like his daughter is coming up with new use cases, we'll see the same thing. So, maybe just to start, are there any questions you had from earlier today?
Well, I think that one of the main questions I have is would all these products be available in Latin America? Because sometimes, the company show products and some of them will be in Europe, some of them will be in Latin America. Which ones will be available in our market?
Okay, all of them will be available in Latin America. There's one, except for one, and we're in discussions on that. And that was the M435, the one that was designed for China, India, and some of the emerging geographies in Eastern Europe. My colleague who runs the printer business in the Americas originally wasn't looking at that. Now, once he's seen the product and its final solution form, he says, oh, there's some countries that we're going to really be interested in this. So there's no decision, but my expectation is that that will also be available in Latin America, but the rest of them will be.
Yeah, including the mobile accessories that we talked about. Yeah.
Do you have a date, an approximate date?
I'll have to let you know. So, okay.
What's about the ink cartridge, the cost of them? Because for Latin American markets, it's very important the cost of the cartridge. No, are they more cheaper than the other previous models?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly varies by product as you go. So some of the products we showed, like if you look at the large MFPs, the one I did the tap to print demo to, depending if it's color or monochrome and single function versus multifunction, anywhere from 10 to 30% less expensive per page. We always look at the per page cost. And the other thing we're usually trying to do...
Than the previous generation of products.
Yeah, versus the ones that replaces.
It, yeah.
Exactly. Thank you, George. And the other thing we're trying to do is also keep what we call the intervention rates down. You have to change the cartridge as often. So we try to get the cost down and not have to do that as much.
No, this is terrible. That you need to change very often is terrible.
Yeah, so we improved that. We also, more paper you can put in, so you don't have to keep loading paper all the time. So all that, just make it simpler and easier to use.
But this is easier because they don't use so much ink, or is just they had more volume of ink, the cartridge?
More toner in the device. We do always look at putting the right amount of what we call toner in the laser world on the paper, but really it's just making a little larger cartridge.
Okay.
Try to do that, yeah.
What about cloud? You mentioned cloud like a trend from printing market.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more about that is, so as George was mentioning, we see a lot of people printing and then going to digital and back and forth. In fact, a lot of people who, if I meet them and I tell them in the printing business, like, oh, printing must be going down. It's like, it's actually not. Printing is actually growing. And what we're seeing more is print back to digital, like George said, and really we're optimizing the devices to be able to digitize very fast. He talked early on about how you can actually scan faster than they could print. The reason is we want to put it into the cloud very quickly, because people don't want to sit and wait. They have a stack of paper and put it in very quickly.
And if you look at our old MFPs, we would slow the scanner down so that it equaled the print speed. And the reason why is that you designed it for copying, so it doesn't have to be any faster than that. Now we have a 90 page per minute scanner and a 45 page per minute printer that's part of that MFP. And it's because it's scan optimized, so it's the ability to scan it in the cloud. We want to design for how the customers are using it.
But specific to your question is, so in the new MFPs that we have upstairs, there's a connector for SharePoint. So the biggest cloud repository people use is SharePoint.
Yes.
There's a SharePoint connector in that device. So if you have SharePoint, you can set it up and scan directly into SharePoint from the device. And it can be individualized to departments or individuals. So that's what we mean about cloud enabled. It's all set up and ready to go.
Yeah, it's very interesting to work with the Microsoft partners to bring these solutions, no, from the SharePoint perspective.
And the nice thing is all of our competitors, they charge you for that SharePoint connector. This comes built into the device, no extra charge.
Yes.
You mentioned also Google Drive and Dropbox.
In Dropbox, you can scan to as well, yes. And you can create a number of different custom workflows to scan to different areas. SharePoint's the one we built in and have a very nice interface to, because it's the most popular around the world.
Yes, really popular. This is a very huge SharePoint conference in USA.
Yes. And we use it internally within HP all the time.
Yeah. No, it's very. They improve the collaboration in the business a lot.
But in my case, I have an HP, the 5500, I think.
Yeah, 5500. Yeah.
Yeah. And but when I scan, it takes too much time to go to send the file to the email. It's due to the device or the network, or
well, there can be multiple bottlenecks. It could be the network or the server, but it could be the device too. The older devices took a little longer to process. So the newer devices, just like phones and tablets, get much faster each generation. So the device itself will scan, prepare, and send it much more quickly. And then if the bottleneck was on the back-end systems, I'll call it, there may be something that needs to be addressed.
Are you improving that in the new devices?
The newer devices, yes, they scan faster, they process faster, and they send it faster to the network, yes.
And they give you more possibilities to manage the quality of
the
document.
And in fact, that is an area we lead the industry by far. So you can preview the documents on the screen. So you scan them in, you can go page by page, you can delete pages, you can reorder pages, you can make it look exactly like you want to, and then send it. Our competitors can't do that. Okay. Really wonderful.
And which percentage of new devices have Wi-Fi built in?
Built into it. So we offer it, you can get it with or without Wi-Fi. Some people don't want it for maybe certain departments or certain areas, but we have as an option, certainly with the accessory on everything.
Yes, very
so there's
interesting.
nothing you cannot put Wi-Fi with.
Yeah, but now.
So what is the cost of? Sorry.
But now, do you have a percentage of the whole portfolio of HP printers?
It typically will have models with and without Wi-Fi. So so the customer can simply choose which one you want. So it's up to you. But if you want to say how much of the portfolio is enabled, it's 100%. I mean, if you want it, you can get it. And most often built in, these two modules here, this is the one I showed cabled up. This is the internal module, the one I did the tap to print where I walked over and touched it. This is actually installed in the front of the device. When you go upstairs, you'll see the same thing with the NFC logo in it. And in fact, the interesting thing is it's the same internals inside both. So we just packaged it either to mount in or hook up with a cable. Yeah. Those are the same things.
And you asked about this $69.99 US.
69, okay, $20.
But I expect that there will be promotions around it that will get it below $50. So it'll be $69.99. But you think about pretty low cost in order to enable both.
Yes, you upgrade your
NFC
printers.
touch to print. So.
Yes.
Yes, interesting, this solution.
I want, first of all, my English is not very well, so...
Okay, we have help with when it comes to
But I want to talk about the technology trends, and if you have some projections
Yeah.
about that trends in Latin America.
Trends in Latin America?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if you have any comments, but I'll say a couple things. One is the trends are very similar around the world.
Yeah.
Mobile, wireless, and then being able to integrate those into what we call workflows. How you work every day is consistent everywhere in the world. Country by country, how fast it's happening varies a little bit, but it used to be maybe 1 year it happened here and 10 years later it happened somewhere else. You're talking 6 months later now. Everything's happening so quickly that it's very
And it's starting in different places and ending in different places. So, and we're seeing the same kind of technology trends and the same kind of needs from Latin American customers as we are around the world right now. I was going to say the same thing.
It's not different.
Y en Chile, ahí sí estoy yo. En Chile, si es que conocen algo, a modo de evaluación de las tecnologías en Chile. Como si que pueden hacer una evaluación de las tecnologías.
¿Cómo está el estado de la tecnología?
Sí, en Chile.
She's from Chile, so she's asking if you know how is the state of technology in Chile, specifically.
Specifically in Chile?
Yeah.
No, we'd have to get back to you.
Ellos son mundiales, ellos en el mundo. Sí.
¿Y cuánto mejora la productividad con estos nuevos productos?
And she's asking about productivity. How
Improve.
if there's any measurement that you can say about how they can
Improve their productivity?
Exactly.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about you can add to it, George, is it varies a lot depending on your workflow. For people who move around a lot, it's a big deal. So you can imagine people who do real estate and show houses and they're coming and going and you're using their mobile device, the productivity gain is very high. The one thing I will say though is when you ask people, do they want to print from the tablets or the phones, George shared the number, 90% say yes. And in a year, that'll probably be 100.
In business.
In business, yes.
Y en el ahorro de energía, de tiempo.
Yeah, she's asking about saving some time and
we've talked internally about doing studies to try to show, but it's evolving so rapidly. I think by the time the study were done, it would
dissolve.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Is there any product line that you think will be more popular in Latin America? Like you say, this is going to be our star in Latin America.
Oh, I would say, in general, we find in Latin America a lot of smaller businesses. So our small business product line tends to be more popular. The large department class I showed, larger businesses typically, so maybe not as popular in Latin America, although we certainly will sell them there.
I think the M125 that we talked about, which is our new smallest MFP in our lineup, I think will do quite well there, as well as the color device that has the connections to Box.net and Google Docs.
They also they told me upstairs that the low end line is the one that has Wi-Fi, right? Like it works as a modem.
Yeah, we have built-in Wi-Fi to those devices.
Why did you do that only in the low range? Did you notice something about the market that they were using more this kind of connection?
No. Well, for one, the smaller devices, it's hard to sometimes add accessories to them. So integrating it in, and we see a faster adoption in smaller unmanaged businesses to wireless. They say, I want wireless, so we take it. The larger businesses, some of them say, well, I want to test it, I want to make sure at first, so I may or may not want it, and it's easier to make it configurable because it's big, so we can add it in this way.
And about apps that they are a key factor for people who wants to print more. What are you doing in that way? Because I heard, for example, in Colombia, HP are like impulsando,
promote
saying local developers to develop apps
to print. Yeah, so a few comments about that. For one is to enable basic print, to print from that device, we never want to have an app, is our strategy. We want there to be a print choice in every menu that you can just tap print. And
so we want it native in the OS, just like on your desktop or notebook, you hit menu, print, you're ready to go, just like you hit file, print today.
And the other thing we want, in addition to that, is George mentioned in his talk, making it simpler. So we don't want you to install a driver either. So when you buy the phone, and this is true on Apple devices, we're working with Samsung, working with pretty much all the major phone vendors, is it's pre-installed in there. So when you get this new printer and you go to print, there's nothing you need to do other than just choose it. That's what we would like. Now, that said, we do have some apps, like I described the app where my daughter can use the scanner on the device, because that's not built in. We then build an app that says, okay, I can control the printer and use the scanner from the phone, and we have an app to do that. But eventually, we'd like that built in too. I can scan right from that device.
Are you familiar with the announcement last week about the Mopria Print
Yes.
Alliance? Okay, so it's called Mopria, M-O-P-R-I-A. Basically, it's an alliance of leading printer manufacturers that are doing two things, and it's HP. We're one of the 4 founders, along with Xerox, along with Canon, along with Samsung. And basically, we're trying to do 2 things. One is come up with a set of standards so that you have a consistent deployment both in devices, in apps, and then in operating systems for both smartphones and tablets to make the mobile print experience very easy. In fact, the goal, and I alluded to it on the stage, is that we want to make it simpler than desktop printing. And if you don't have to install a driver, that's on the road to being simpler. The second thing is we want to raise awareness of how easy it is to print from your mobile device. And if you think about what I talked about in the plenary is most people want to print. They either don't know how, or if they've tried it, they find it hard. We want to address both problems, both around making it easy, but also making them aware of it. And so this is something we're doing as a leadership with other leading print manufacturers.
Are you aware of AirPrint and what we've done with Apple?
Yeah.
AirPrint, you know AirPrint?
Yeah.
You use it on your iPad? It's wonderful. So we developed that with Apple. In fact, I was part of the team that did that. And that's an example of how we want it embedded right in. So you have an email or a web page, you simply have that little choice that says boom, print, and it sees the printer and off it goes.
So Yvonne, if I go back to your question, we want to make this as simple as possible. So with Wireless Direct or touch to print with NFC, that's a choice that customers have either between these 2 devices across 40 million printers in the install base. We're going to have apps with ePrint. So if you're away from if you're away and you want to be able to send it via the wireless network, you can send it like an email attachment, and it'll print out for you. And then finally, for those managed environments that need the security and want to print behind the firewall, we have ePrint for Enterprise, which is basically our solution for behind the firewall. Our goal is to make it as simple as possible, but we also want to enable choices because, frankly, some customers want it behind the firewall, some want it in front of it, some want the ability to do it right away, some want to be able to email it because they're far away from their printer. So we're going to give customers those choices, but we want to reduce the friction.
You were talking upstairs that the market is becoming hybrid. There used to be like printing, now it's printing and digital. Do you think the future is only like digital documents, or you think there will be a remaining of printing?
Someday a long time.
So it's like further away.
An old question.
So I work for Pradeep Chawani. He's the Senior Vice President in charge of the LaserJet Enterprise Solutions Group. Okay, he was on the original team that launched the HP DeskJet in 1984 and the HP LaserJet in 1984. In fact, he was in charge of the channel. He gave his first presentation on the paperless office in 1985.
Yes.
The paperless office still hasn't arrived. So maybe some point in the future when my kids are retired, but in the meantime, we're going to live in this hybrid world. So, and so therefore, we're going to work on what customers are asking us about.
Yo tengo una pregunta ahí. Si le pueden preguntar, ¿cuántas ventas pretenden tener con estos nuevos productos en el próximo año?
It's a hard question.
Okay. We didn't hear you. No entiendo.
How do you expect to sell?
How many sales do you expect to have?
Units to sell around this
year?
We're, I would just say this:
you expect to achieve your quota.
I can only talk about what happened in our latest quarterly announcement. We said that commercial printing units were up 12%. So that's a healthy growth rate, and obviously laser is a big part of that. And that's probably as much as I can say, right?
That's as much as you can say.
Okay, she's going to get me in trouble.
I have a related question.
She's information police.
You sell if this launch of also the notebooks and the printer is success, we can see the HP share growing up.
Now you're really going to get me. I would just say this. I think that we have a leadership position in both categories. We have a leadership position in Latin America. Both of us worked in the Americas, and so I have visited every one of your countries, and we want to continue to have a leadership position there. So that's probably what I can answer. So.
Because the HP share is recovering a lot in the last year. It was a huge improvement.
So let me ask you a question. So you see our products, you see our competitors. Do you think we're going to be successful?
We'll do? What do you think after?
About your competitors?
In printing, yeah.
Versus our competitors.
In printing?
Well, in the commercial business, really you have a lot of presence. It's probably you see HP in all the since large corporations to SMB market, and the consumer is more it's different. I think the cost of the ink cartridge is very important thing, and so for us you have a very good partner program. So for commercial, it's very important to have a very loyalty partners, and I think in Latin America you have since last year you do a lot of work with the partners.
Well, I think Epson with their ink tanks, they are doing something different. So, for example, in our countries, they are showing a different way to print. Maybe less expensive. So I think people are seeing this like a choice for print.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught on when George was mentioning the page-wide array technology, what we call our OfficeJet Pro X, is a very good solution for businesses. He mentioned for color, half the cost of traditional laser printing. So this is a great example where we're driving down the cost. The performance is very high, 70 pages per minute. You see it goes.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
very
really,
good.
It's really incredible. The quality is very good. It's a wonderful device.
We only have about 3 more minutes.
Okay.
So maybe last question then?
Ya que no pudieron contestar en plata, en unidades, ¿cuántas
Yo
unidades?
pregunté en unidades primero.
¿Preguntaste en unidades?
Claro.
No,
If you can share the numbers in units instead of money, you
¿Cuántas
can.
unidades
As far
esperan
as how many units we will
comercializar?
ship, is that what she
Yes,
was asking? Unfortunately,
it's the
not.
same. It's the same question. But she tried.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you for, I know how far it is to get
I
here.
don't
So
know